Good morning. Welcome to GEW Day 2. We are super excited today to have a really great expert here from the OK Catalyst programs to talk a little bit about SBIR. So if you want to think about SBIR funding, today is your day. You're going to learn everything you need to know. So I want to really thank Maya and Kuka for being here this morning to talk a little bit about all there is to know from SBIR, how to go about pursuing SBIR funding, the basics. I'm Devin Lane, I'm the CEO here at 36 Degrees North. We are thrilled to be hosting GEW this year. And again, I'm so excited to have all of you with us this morning for our session. For those of you attending virtually, if you have any questions, be sure to input those into the chat screen and we'll make sure those get up to Maya at the end of the presentation today. So Maya, I'm going to turn it over to you, but thank you for being here and welcome to 36 Degrees North.
Thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Maya Kuka, and I am with OK Catalyst, an office of the Town Love Innovation Hub at the University of Oklahoma. I work with Diana Barnes, and she works directly with the Innovation Hub, so her focus is a little bit different. But you might be familiar with GEW, the University of Oklahoma, but their focus is also a little bit different. So what I want you to get out from this presentation mainly is that if you hear OK Catalyst, think SBIR, and if you hear funding for high-tech companies, small high-tech companies. First of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit about who I am. You can see that I'm pretty international because I've lived in Russia, France, and Spain, and that's why I talk like this. In the United States, I've lived in Indiana, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and finally Oklahoma. Before joining the OK Catalyst team, I was with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, helping veteran entrepreneurs. And in 2018, I decided that I needed a change and I wanted to explore another part of the country. So I came to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I knew that there were so many wonderful things going on here. And then I also remembered that Tulsa is the Paris of Oklahoma. So I absolutely needed to come here. So I joined OK Catalyst in 2020, and it's been a wonderful experience for me. And I would like to ask you, if you're not from Oklahoma, then where are you from and what brought you to Oklahoma? I'd be surprised if anyone is not from Oklahoma in such a small, group. But anyway, I have met a lot of people, surprisingly, who are not from Oklahoma here. Go over today. First, we'll address Oklahoma's challenges. Then we'll say that technology is a solution to these challenges. We'll discuss where technology comes from, OK Catalyst target markets, OK Catalyst business model, and finally SBIR, America's Seed Fund. And then I'll also share a couple of our client success stories. Here's a factual assessment of where Oklahoma is today. So actually Oklahoma ranks 43rd overall and 47th in healthcare. It ranks 48th in happiness, and I personally was pretty surprised by these statistics because I've had such a positive experience here. But then I found out that a lot of Oklahomans live in rural areas, and the situation there is a lot different from the city. So that explains the statistics, at least a little bit. People are the most valuable export. Even though some people like me gladly move to Oklahoma, Oklahoma loses 5,000 more college graduates than it produces each year. People move for a variety of reasons, but quality of life and income affect migration more than anything else. This year, as you know, we have a storm of crash oil prices and a pandemic that happened all in the same year. We need new ideas and industries. So if we look at the neighboring states on all sides of Oklahoma, they have economies that are twice as diverse in here, and that means that they have a lot more different types of jobs. In Oklahoma, the main industries are energy, manufacturing, and transportation. So what can be done about this? We cannot just take this crisis and not do anything about it. It's a terrible thing to waste. So what's great is that the global economy is changing quite significantly. So in 2008, oil and gas companies accounted for more than 15% of the S&P 500, but today they make up only 2.3%. Tech companies are the least affected by COVID. Since February 2020, oil and gas jobs decreased by 14%, while science and tech jobs only saw a 3% change. Technology is a driver of economic growth. Now more than ever, the creation of new technologies is the key to a more prosperous Oklahoma. So why is Oklahoma such a good place to start a tech company, you might think? Well, that's because innovation takes two things, know-how and a lot of funding. So what's great about Oklahoma is ranked 17th in terms of quality of life, because it is so affordable to live here. Oklahoma's universities are very strong. Oklahoma is ranked 28th. It has a great business culture, and even this global entrepreneurship event is an excellent example of that. Oklahoma City and Tulsa are some of the best places to start a business in the United States. And there are some amazing investments in the future. Tulsa Innovation Labs and partners are investing $50 million to transform Tulsa into a tech hub. And here's a quote by Steve Jobs that I found very encouraging. So technology is nothing. What's important is that you have faith in people, that they're basically good and smart, and if you give them tools, they'll do wonderful, wonderful things with them. What's a little bit challenging is that funding is concentrated. There is a myth that the smartest people with the best ideas are concentrated in just a few cities, when in fact, 80% of venture capital only goes to 10 cities, even though returns and investments in these cities have been declining for more than a decade. So that means that more money goes in with less return, and that makes Tulsa such a great place for investors to invest in. And so we can look at this graph here with top cities for VC investment. So we have San Francisco with the most, and it goes all the way to Boulder. And there are no Oklahoma cities on this graph yet, but I believe that that will change. Who made the iPhone possible? Other than Steve Jobs, does you have any guesses? Well, surprisingly, it's the government. So all of these technologies that you see here, there was a government that helped develop them. So we have the touch screen that was financed by the CIA and the NSF. And we have GPS and cellular communication and Siri that were financed by DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and microchips were also financed by the government. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Who develops life-saving medicine? And again, the answer is the government. So we have two big pharmaceutical companies here, Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. Out of 44 products that Pfizer sold, they only developed 10. And out of 18 products that Johnson & Johnson sold, they only developed 2. So then you might ask, well, who developed the rest of these products? Well, it was actually the NIH through universities and research organizations. And the NIH approved all FDA drugs. And there is also an interesting example that I wanted to share with you. You might be familiar with. Last week, I was listening to the journal, and Pfizer developed a vaccine, a COVID vaccine, that is supposed to be 90% effective, and they invested $2 billion in it. Well, they could have used government funding for it, but they decided not to because they didn't want any strings attached, and it would have slowed them down. So they decide not to use it. But what's great with SBIR is that there are no strings attached like that. It's a different type of funding. And also, Pfizer would not qualify for SBIR because it's not a small company. So could the government be innovative? Well, based on the examples I just gave you, we can argue that government investment is a hidden hero in our nation's innovation economy. Only 50% of SBIR investments occur in the top 10 cities, or VC, every year, which means that the talent is actually more dispersed than the VC industry thinks. So we can look at this graph and notice that SBIR funding is more dispersed. Oklahoma can certainly do better than this very small percentage of the market. So there's a myth that in order to get SBIR funding, you must have a PhD degree, but actually you do not need a PhD degree. If you have a bachelor's degree and a great idea, a technology, then you must certainly have a shot. None of our successful clients had previous experience with government funding, and only 2 had a PhD. 21 Oklahoma companies won an SBIR award in 2019, and the majority were our clients. So here you can see that 650,000 Oklahomans have a bachelor's degree or higher, and on average, there are only 12 SBIR STTR awards in Oklahoma. So since that's the average since 1983 and up to 2016. So that is such a small number, and we can certainly do better than 12. And that's why OK Catalyst exists. Here's our target market. It's anyone with a background in science, technology, engineering, or entrepreneurship. SBIR funds new technologies that solve important problems. So scientists and engineers are often the ideal candidates to win and manage SBIR funding, but entrepreneurs are so important because they need someone who can find paying customers and the market for it. So ideally, we want both scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs as well. Here's Oklahoma's opportunity. As I previously mentioned, there are more than 260,000 prime candidates for SBIR, STTR funding. So I'll briefly, I'll just use percentages for this. So about 10% of the population has a bachelor in business administration, engineering, or another STEM field. We have 9% with other bachelor's degrees, and about 6% with graduate degrees. So there's a huge opportunity here. And here's OK Catalyst's business model. It is to recruit scientists and entrepreneurs to pursue SBIR funding, to train founders how to use SBIR funding to grow their startup, and to mentor successful founders through the early growth phase. And here's our timeline. So OK Catalyst launched its programs in 2017, then refined effective programs in 2018, hired and trained staff in 2019, scaled up SBIR accelerators in 2020, and that's when I joined. And now the goal for 2021 and beyond is to create and mentor even more startups. And here are our programs. First, we have researchers. That's a crash course in business for engineers and scientists conducting research at universities in Oklahoma. You'll be surprised how many scientists and engineers never really think about starting a business, which is unfortunate because there could be such great opportunities for them. So this course gives them an opportunity at least to learn about SBIR and see if they would be interested in starting a tech company. And if they are, then they can participate in our accelerator, which is an intensive guide to writing competitive SBIR, STTR proposals that includes training, mentorship, and business strategy consulting. And I mostly work with the Department of Defense Accelerator, and we have one. The next one is actually starting pretty soon on November 30th. So the application deadline is November 30th. So I will highly recommend applying for that. It's a very quick application. It takes less than 10 minutes. And it's an 8-week-long program. And so anyone can certainly apply, and we can discuss whether the technology could be a good fit for SBIR. Our third program is SBIR X, And that's about mentoring future CEOs and tech leaders in Oklahoma through the startup growth process. So once someone wins as the phase 1 of SBIR, it doesn't stop there. The goal is to get to that phase 2. And OK Catalyst, through SBIRX, guides companies and prepares them to win that phase 2, which is a lot more significant. Here's our impact. Our clients are 4 times more likely to win SBIR STTR funding than the national average. The national average is only 10%. It is a very competitive program. So far, since 2017, OK Catalyst helped 14 startups win 21 SBIR awards. And the total SBIR STTR plus additional funding won by OK Catalyst clients since 2017 is more than $15 million. And here's the average salary for an employee of an SBIR funded company, worth $7,000, and that's not bad at all. We cannot do it alone, so we have a lot of different partners. Here are our higher education partnerships, and there are pretty much all of the universities in Oklahoma. And we also have professional partnerships, and they're connected with the local, state, or national governments. Here is the Oklahoma Innovation Model. OK Catalyst receives most of its funding from OCAST, which stands for Oklahoma Center for the Advancement of Science and Technology. And the way that they advance science and technology is by partnering with different organizations with such expertise. So for instance, OK Catalyst with OU specializes in SBIR. We have OSU's New Product Development Center, and they do manufacturing and prototyping. There is Oklahoma Manufacturing Alliance. They work with manufacturers and connect them with startups. And I2E sponsors Love's Cup and also provides capital for entrepreneurs. So the way this could potentially work is once the company wins an SBIR award, then they can get even more money from I2E. And that what's really great about winning money is the more you get, the easier it is to get more. This really reminds me of trying to get that first job after graduating from college. Nobody wants to hire you because you don't have any experience, but how are you supposed to get any experience if nobody is going to hire you? So the funding works similarly. Once somebody gives you money, then more organizations are willing to give you money. And finally, we get to America's Seed Fund, SBIR STTR. SBIR stands for Small Business Innovation Research, STTR, Small Business Technology Transfer Program. It's a $3.7 billion program for US-owned small businesses with less than 500 employees to develop and launch innovative new products. It enables growth because it allows for profit and covers indirect costs for small businesses. It's non-dilutive cash, that means that it's not a loan and you do not need to pay it back. And it also does not significantly impact corporate IT. It does not take equity in your company. There are no limits on awards, so that means that you can apply to as many contracts as you want, but it just cannot be for the same work. It's a 3-phase program. The phase 1 is to establish feasibility and demonstrate technical merit and commercial potential, and that one's for about 6 months up to a year of work, and it's between $70,000 up to about $150,000. Phase 2 is for mature concept, and that's for full research and development effort, demonstrating performance in feasible environment. That one is for 2 years of work, and the award is between $750,000 up to $1 million+. And phase 3 is to pursue commercialization, and that's where you no longer receive any SBIR funds, because by that time it's assumed that you will have other non-SBIR funding. Here are the program guidelines. SBIR and STTR are very similar. The main difference is that one requires partnership and the other does not. So SBIR permits partnership but does not require them. Your company may outsource 33% of work in phase 1 and 50% of work in phase 2. PI, principal investigator, which is usually you, must be more than 50% employed with your small business. When it comes to STTR, that one does require partnership with a nonprofit research institution. Your business must complete at least 40% of work, and that research institution must complete at least 30% of work. PI, the principal investigator, must be employed either by that research institution or your small business. There are instances when you may qualify for either SBIR or STTR, and in that case, you can decide for yourself which award to apply for, because there are some awards that are only available as SBIR awards and others are only available as STTR awards. Sometimes working with a university or partnering with a university can be a little bit tricky. It takes more time and it's more bureaucratic, but it's still worth exploring for sure. There's a difference between contracts and grants. Some government agencies offer contracts and others offer grants. For contracts, a government agency, for instance, the Department of Defense, establishes plans, protocols, and requirements. They're highly focused topics. They pretty much tell you exactly what needs to be done. Their procurement mechanisms, more fiscal requirements, their invoices on progress, and it's overall it is a binding agreement between the buyer and the seller for goods and services. So that's contracts. For grants, it's a little bit different. You, the principal investigator, you initiate. You come and you have to show the government why they should fund you. So there are less specific topics. There is more assistance. There's more flexibility. It allows upfront payments. It also funds pretty much it funds your best efforts in research, and it's for a public purpose. Here, look at the agency breakdown. You can tell that some agencies have a lot more funding than others, with the Department of Defense with $1.8 billion versus the Environmental Protection Agency with $3.6 million. And that's why we focus so much on the Department of Defense, because they simply have more money. And here you can tell that SBIR is a more common, and it's a bigger program. They also have more funding than STTR. Some companies are either just contracts, others are just grants. HHS, the Health and Human Services, they're both, but mostly grants, the NIH. Here I'll give you a little bit more details. So for instance, the Department of Defense has an annual budget of $1.8 billion. The success rate for phase 1 is 19%, and there are 3 submissions. They're released 3 times per year, and each has between 200 and 30 different topics. And those are specific problems that you need to propose a solution for. So that will be for the Department of Defense. Because it's a contracting agency, then your goal is to convince the DoD employees that you can solve their problems and reach a commercial market, like Boston Dynamics did with Spot the robot dog. So here, meet Spot and Atlas. Spot is an agile mobile robot that navigates terrain with unprecedented mobility, allowing you to automate routine inspection tasks and data captured safely, accurately, and frequently. And Atlas is the world's most dynamic humanoid robot. And I want to show you Atlas because I thought that was pretty amazing, and you might like it too. Is everyone ready for Atlas? Can you imagine that showing up at your door? I can't either. So Atlas was made possible thanks to the Department of Defense. It is not available yet. Spot is available. You can buy it online. Apparently, I couldn't find the code for it. I would think it's pretty pricey. The second one is the National Science Foundation. Their annual budget is $212 million, and the phase 1 win rate is 11%, and they have 4 submission windows. Because this is a granting agency, then in that case, you have to convince scientists that your innovation has a huge market and will make the world a better place, like Bolt Threads did with their sustainable synthetic silk. Here is Bolt Threads, inspired by nature, designed for our future. Microsilk is a sustainably produced textile spun from the same proteins as a spider's web and created using biology, fermentation, and traditional textile production. So when I first saw that, my first question was, well, do they actually use spiders for this? So I went online and I checked, and they do not use spiders for that. Next one is the National Institutes of Health. They also have a significant annual budget of $1.15 billion. Their phase 1 win rate is 19%, and there are 3 submission windows. Because it's a granting agency, once again, your goal would be to convince scientists that your innovation will save lives, improve quality of life, like Liftware did with their self-stabilizing spoon for people with Parkinson's disease. And here's Liftware spoon. It has multiple attachments. It can be used as a regular spoon, a fork, or a spork. They have a stabilizing technology with advanced sensors, motors, and an onboard computer work to actively detect and counteract tremor. They have a rechargeable battery that lasts for at least 1 hour of continuous use on single charge, so you can eat with confidence with Liftware. And their selection of stabilizing and leveling handles and attachments are designed to help people with hand tremor or limited hand and or arm mobility retain dignity, confidence, and independence. And I also went on their website, and I was curious about how much this spoon costs. Their starting kit is almost $200, and I'm not sure if insurance would cover that. So, but it is an amazing technology. It's really awesome. And lastly, I will share a few of our success stories. Here are Catherine Ha and Will Booker. They were computer science students at OU, and they took advantage of all iHub resources. In 2018, they participated in Startup Innovation Fund and placed 3rd in Annual Loves Cup. In 2019, they participated in the DoD SBIR Accelerator. And in 2019, they won 2 different awards, phase 1 awards from the NIH and the Department of Defense. So as I was saying a little bit earlier, you can apply for multiple awards, and that's exactly what they did, and they won. In this year, they won $1 million phase 2 DoD SBIR award. It's still pending, but so that's why you want to get to phase 2, because it's so much more, there's so much more money in there. So this is their device pictured here. It is a device to help you determine whether someone has laser eye injuries. So the Department of Defense gave them the award to prove feasibility of this device. And the NIH awarded them for a similar type of technology, but the type that helps detect cancer. So as you can tell, just from within 2 years of graduation, they were able to receive more than $650,000 in funding, which is incredible. And here is Jonathan Torkelson with Embedded Tech. Oops. He attended OK Catalyst SBIR workshop on Tinker in 2018. and participated in the Department of Defense SBIR Accelerator in 2019. He won $120,000 in phase 1 from the Department of Defense. That was for an STTR, and as I previously mentioned, because he was an STTR award, so he had to partner with a university, and he decided to partner with TU. And just this year, he won a $1.5 million for phase 2 Department of Defense SBIR award from MDA, the Missile Defense Agency. And here, his company helps clients design custom electronics and build hardware and circuit boards. And Virtuoso, which is pictured here, is an embedded system virtual device network that allows no or low-code platforms to be easily developed. So the reason he received this award is because the Department of Defense needed a virtual training environment for space. So his solution solved that problem. Finally, here is our team. We have Tom Wavering, our executive director. He is an expert in SBIR, SBIR Funding. He founded and leads the iHub's OK Catalyst programs. Before joining the team, he had 18 years of experience in the research, development, and commercialization of innovative technologies through various technical and executive leadership roles. He worked for a couple of companies that are known for their SBIR success, Intelligent Automation and Luna Innovations. What's really awesome about our accelerator is the fact that our participants have direct access to his expertise. We actually schedule one-on-one appointments with him, and he reviews proposals and gives feedback. So we're really fortunate to have him. Next, we have Daniel Moses. He is a OK Catalyst founding director, and he's responsible for planning and execution of all programs activities. OK Catalyst. Before joining the team, he was a program manager for the Tom Love Center for Entrepreneurship at OU, where he designed and launched the Sooner Innovation Fund that gives students up to $5,000 and provides mentorship and training of market validation. While he was in college, he co-founded and managed a small business that became profitable within 2 years. He graduated from OU with a master in international studies with an emphasis in economic development. And here's Sarah Campbell. She's a Norman Associate, and she's responsible for OK Catalyst researchers, NASA, DoD, and SBIR accelerators. She leads brand marketing initiatives, website, courseware, and design and social media management. Before joining the team, she spent more than 10 years in the US Air Force, culminating at Tinker as the Director of Operations Training. She has an MBA from Syracuse University. And here's me, and you already know a little bit about me. So once again, I wanted to reiterate that if you hear OK Catalyst, think SBIR, and if you hear SBIR, think government funding for small high-tech companies. Thank you very much.